NBA. Madison Square Harden. There he is. See what they did? Last night, the Beard created a buzz on Broadway. Tonight, we'll ask Chris Haynes, what happens once Chris Paul returns? Out for the year. As the NBA sends its prayers up to Victor Oladipo, we'll examine what it means for the Pacers leading up to the trade deadline. Road trip! Winners of 8 straight, the new-look Warriors bring the boogeyman out for an East Coast tour. Anthony Slater is on the Dubs beat, and he checks in with a live update from D.C. as we talk with the newsmakers and news reporters with opinion, perspective, and predictions. Yes! The 10 Before Tip presented by Ford. Madison Square Harden. No. See what they're funny up there at the tabloids in New York City. Those New Yorkers. Come on in as we discuss the biggest stories of the day and set the table for the night in the NBA. I'm Jared Greenberg. Thanks for being with us. 10 Before Tip number 1. It's what's happening right now.
Harassed by Gordon. Stolen by Harden. And Harden will throw it down with 3.8 remaining. James Harden with 61 points. And the Rockets survive tonight here at the Garden.
Historical buildings in a sport that we have. Obviously, the fans are one of the best that we have in this league, and so it's pretty cool to come out here and just put on a show for them.
Look how great he is, and let's be as clear as possible here. This doesn't include Wilt Chamberlain in this graphic, because if it did, his name would be just Wilt Chamberlain everywhere. Highest scoring months in NBA history. Chamberlain's got 11 of the 16. Glad we got that all out of the way. James Harden has got the highest scoring month in NBA history, not including Wilt Chamberlain. Okay, clear that up. Chris Haynes is going to join us here, senior NBA writer from Yahoo Sports. Chris, it's been, let's just say this. These things are not mutually exclusive, right? James Harden can be great and spectacular and just flat out amazing. But there also is this other case of, well, what happens when? What happens when he wears out? Or what happens when Chris Paul comes back and he wants the ball with more than 3 seconds to go on the shot clock?
Well, we've seen James Harden wear out, particularly when you talk about when it's time for the postseason. But what he's doing, they have to play this style of basketball in order to give themselves a chance to win on any given night. You got Clint Capella out, you got Chris Paul out. So the surge he's on, he's pretty much the only guy on that team who can play make at that type of ability. And it's working. But you do worry, and there is concern within the Rockets as well, if this is too much, if it's going to be a burden down the stretch of the season. Now, when Chris Paul comes along, no, we don't expect him to continue this workload and put up these type of numbers, because hopefully Chris Paul can offset that. But what he's doing is tremendous, man. It's good for the game, and you just hope that he can produce when it's really time to produce.
Right, because listen, even when the Knicks aren't very good, and listen, they got the second worst record in basketball, it's still fun to see somebody do that in that building. There's no question. But me as a basketball junkie, I want to see Harden do that in May and June. And the last couple of Mays have not been very good for James Harden. You know what I mean?
Jay, we all want to see that, man. And that's what it's really all about. My colleague Vince Goodwill, who we kid from time to time, he said, look, I want to see him put up those numbers in May and potentially in June, because it's all good right now. Like I said, I think they have to play this style of basketball to succeed under the current situation that they're in. But look, man, James Harden, his legacy is not going to be defined by how dominant he is in the regular season. It's going to be about the postseason. And Tracy McGrady, he's a Hall of Fame player. That's my brother. I love that guy dearly. But, when you look at his career and his legacy, people point to his lack of playoff success. And so, Jay, that's what James Harden is trying to overcome. Before you
name drop Tracy McGrady, did you just name drop the star of the bounce, Vincent Goodwill? Is that what you just did?
Hey, Vincent Goodwill is an emerging talent. Now, he has an acquired taste. His style doesn't suit everybody.
It's funny. That for most people, that would be a compliment, but Vince Gubo will turn around and say, emerging, I'm already a star. What are you talking about?
He would. That's true.
10 before tip, number 2, a status report. The Pacers confirmed today what we all feared. Victor Oladipo is done for the season. An MRI confirmed Oladipo will need surgery to repair a ruptured quad tendon in his right knee. While many players around the league have sent messages of support to Oladipo, one may truly have stood out above the rest due to his ties to the situation. Not only was Paul George traded for Oladipo, PG-13 also suffered a devastating leg injury.
I feel for him. I feel for the fans. I feel for the city, the state, for them to have to go through that again with my injury and now Vic's. It's tough. It's tough for the franchise.
More status updates, not per Chris Haynes, not per Shams, not even per Woj. According to intrepid reporter Caron Butler, the Nets will be without Spencer Dinwiddie for the next 4 to 6 weeks due to a torn ligament in his finger. Ooh, so what does that do to the Eastern Conference standings that we look at here, where, okay, we thought for a while we had 1 through 5 locked up. The order certainly could shuffle, but now the Pacers are without their best player for the rest of the year, and the Nets are without arguably their most important player, even with D'Angelo Russell playing out of his mind. Dinwiddie has been a key cog off the bench. We thought maybe with Oladipo out, could the Nets slide into the top 5? But now without Dinwiddie, man, oh man. Chris Haynes, all this injury news, obviously Oladipo is the biggest of this news. Here's the question. Mike Conley was rumored to be on the radar for the Pacers. I'm sure there will be other rumors as well. But if you're the Pacers, how does last night's injury to Oladipo affect what you were going to do leading up to the trade deadline 2 weeks from today?
Look, I think they definitely have to look at the trade deadline more aggressively than prior if they haven't been doing so thus far. With Oladipo being out, man, they really have to scheme and strategize on both ends of the floor in a different manner.
Chris, let me ask you about that, though, because sorry to interrupt you. You know, when you factor in that Oladipo adding in Conley, potentially, hypothetically here, you're now thinking that's a team that could challenge anybody else in the Eastern Conference with the way Sabonis and Miles Turner and Thaddeus Young have been playing. That's a great core. But without Oladipo and what it's going to take to get a guy like Conley, is it worth it to make that deal now since he's hurt?
I don't know if it's worth it to make that deal, but I think they have to get some insurances at that position. They have to make sure they're solidified in that spot, because you look at what they're doing, man, they're having a great season, and I know you mentioned Brooklyn as well. You know, they're supposed to be in the thick of things right now. And with that injury, which is a devastating injury for Oladipo, I text him back and forth. He's in good spirits. And it's going to be a situation where Indiana, they have the resolve. They have the locker room of that team. You know, they're going to persevere. But if they seriously want to make some noise in the playoffs and get to that next step, they're going to have to get some assurance. And that's just the simple fact of the matter is.
How do you feel about getting scooped by Caron Butler on the Dinwiddie news?
From Fruit Juice himself, man.
Fruit Juice? You better put some respect on Tough Juice's name.
Man, look, I say this, man. You know, every time, this league is already competitive from a breaking news standpoint. we don't need any more. Come on, Fruit. Like, come on. That's unnecessary.
You better call him Tough Juice. That man will get to you. 10 before tip number 3. Trending!
We're in first place. I feel like I deserve to be there just because our performance the last 5 years at the top of the standings. It's not easy. I don't know how many times it's ever been done. So if I don't make it, it's not the end of the world. I'll go to the beach and enjoy myself.
New look Warriors, new look 10 before tip. Look at this. 2 best friends together, but I got to stay in the middle of them. Chris Haynes and now Anthony Slater joining us live from D.C., writing for The Athletic, covering the Golden State Warriors, who have an 8-game win streak. They're in D.C. tonight. All right, fellas, let's do this. Now that we've seen DeMarcus Cousins for a couple of games play in a Warriors uniform, are we confident that it's the Warriors, or would you still be willing to bet a couple of shekels, Anthony Slater, on the field to win the championship this year?
What are the odds? I mean, if it's just 50-50, you got to go Warriors. I probably would have leaned towards Warriors before we've seen Cousins, and I've hiked that up even higher. I mean, I think just his threes, even if he can't, he's kind of looked a little bit rusty trying to get to the rim and isolation post-up situations. But he hit 3 threes in his first game, which is the most by a Warrior starting center since 2010. And just that aspect of it, plus the rebounding that he helps them out, it's just taken them to another level that they really didn't even need to go to for us to probably pick them over the field.
Well, I think right now I'm gonna have to go with the Golden State Warriors as well. Look, I agree with Slate in the regard that DeMarcus he doesn't have his all-around game as of right now. Inside, outside, he's not that player right now. But outside, he has that outside jump shot, man. And look, I'm gonna tell you right now, if the Warriors are healthy going into the postseason, 100% healthy, I'm taking the Warriors, and I'm taking them big. And in big, I mean, I think they can sweep through the entire Western Conference field. Like, I just don't think there's really a threat out there if this team is going to that postseason healthy.
Well, Slater, that's interesting. Do you think that there is a team out there right now? Last year at this time, we were talking about how the Warriors were looking at a lot more tape of the Celtics, thinking they would make it to the NBA Finals. Is there a team that this team thinks could give them a push in the series?
I don't think they're afraid of Denver, who, is right now the only team close to them really in the standings. I think the Thunder interest them in a standpoint of the Thunder plays a type of playoff basketball that might give them trouble. They're lengthy. They got, Paul George to go, guard multiple of their guys, especially Kevin Durant mostly for a series. They would probably have to get Robertson back and looking healthy because, you could put him on Clay. Obviously, Westbrook has his own dynamic, and then Steven Adams is a bruiser in the paint. I think that's part of the reason why it's good that they got Cousins back. They can have him go up against a guy like Steven Adams. So from the West, I would say that team, that Thunder team, if they were playing at their optimal level, especially defensively, would maybe scare them the most in the West. But I actually think their biggest challengers are out East.
Chris, what about LeBron? Should he scare the Warriors?
He can't scare them right now. Not sitting down, and definitely not with the roster that they have. Look, they're not ready. We all knew the Lakers were going to be playing this type of basketball. But look, when you're talking about the Lakers and Warriors potentially having a rivalry, you got to think about next season and beyond. Like this, is that DA back there?
There's somebody trying to break into our camera time. I remember that guy. He used to be on this show. That's Hall of Famer.
Look, that's what I'm talking about, man. I was just about to spit some knowledge. I forgot what I was going to say, and DA come and ruin everything.
You got flustered. That's what happened to you. Hey, speaking of getting flustered, Slater, Steve Kerr, sometimes it feels like he likes to cook up some drama to get his team refocused. They've won 8 in a row. They have DeMarcus Cousins. We have forgotten about the fight between Draymond Green and Kevin Durant. What will Steve Kerr try and nitpick? Because we all know sometimes management likes to nitpick on you a little bit about things. What's he going to point out that maybe his team isn't doing perfect?
Well, he directed his anger towards Jordan Bell the other night, right? That was it's not nearly as viral because of who's involved. Jordan Bell's kind of out of the rotation, but he lit into his second year forward, and it was caught on national TV, and it was kind of a little mini story around the team the last couple of days. I think there's a little bit of frustration. Jordan's maybe taking a step back in year 2. So right now it's kind of more towards like the mop-up duty crew than the regular starters, because what he's loved, and he mentioned this the other day, their turnovers are very low during this win streak. I think Draymond Green particularly has like a 72 assists, 10 turnovers over an 8-game stretch, and they're averaging only about 10 or 11. And if you keep that down, you keep Steve Kerr happy.
And that's the goal, right? We used to do that around here at Turner Sports. We always kept Steve Kerr happy, and hopefully you're happy, Anthony Slater. Good to have you back on the program. There he is,
Very
Anthony
happy
Slater,
to be back with you guys.
writing for The Athletic, covering the Dubs. We'll have more from Chris Haynes. We're fortunate for that. Steven Adams trying to make it a 4th straight win tonight. We've got a doubleheader coming up on TNT tonight. We'll get you set for that with our pregame show coming up at the top of the hour.